All right, you might think maybe Special Counsel Jack Smith and all the other Biden attorneys might think about pushing the delete button, delete themselves right out of the Justice Department. Oh, my goodness. Joining me now, Katie Pavlich, editor at townhall.com and Fox News contributor, Liz Peek, syndicated columnist, Fox News contributor, and Tammy Bruce, also a Fox News contributor and author of Fear Itself. Wanted to get that in, Tammy.
Thank you, sir.
Katie, there's a lot to talk about. Yeah, pushing the delete button. Can I just raise this one more time? Okay.
Yes, please do.
The guy who's accusing Matt Gaetz, all right, the guy who's behind the lawyer is now in the midst of this. I'm not making this up. He's in the midst of an 11-year prison term, okay? And he's accusing Matt Gaetz of stuff. All right. Now, I've talked to Molly Hemingway, who's done a lot of investigative reporting about this. She's standing by her research. I mean, it's at least raise an eyebrow that maybe this is. One last thing. The Justice Department made a lot of these charges, and nothing ever came of it.
Right.
There. Now I've said it.
Well, in America, you are innocent until proven guilty. As you mentioned, the Justice Department opened an investigation. Matt Gaetz was never charged with what he was accused of. And you're saying the source maybe someone you should have skepticism about, given that he is actually in prison. Yes. So, the confirmation hearing will get ugly. Democrats will certainly dig up everything they can to try and tarnish President Donald Trump's president-elect's nominee, because he wants to get people in place who can actually upend the government, which is what Americans voted for, by the way. The Attorney General is the most important position in terms of who President Trump has put into place. This is his #1 goal of getting someone to clean up the Department of Justice. Matt Gaetz will be questioned about whether he can do the job. Senators who do have an independent role to play when it comes to considering these nominees for any president, not just President Trump, will make their decision. But I've been hearing from friends who work on Capitol Hill that he's going to get confirmed and that they are trying to respect the fact that the president should have who he wants in his cabinet.
Because it was a massive mandate for change. It really was.
Indeed.
A massive mandate. And Liz, you made a point off set, but the fact is, maybe have a Marco Rubio. This is Tammy's point too. Maybe have a Marco Rubio first, okay, that kind of thing, and maybe not have Matt. Let Matt Gaetz make the rounds.
Yeah.
Make the rounds maybe twice, okay.
That started, I think, right?
Yes, it has. Yeah. But Marco's going to get through. I mean, he deserves to get through quickly,
easily.
But he's a pretty popular member anyway. So that would make at least some tactical sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I don't know if there is a prescribed order to these nominations going before the Senate. I sort of doubt that. So I think it is up to the president-elect and his coterie to figure out who comes first. But I think Marco Rubio's easy, Mike Waltz is easy, Elise Stefanik is easy. Let's get those in place, and so they're on a glide path, and maybe they won't notice the Matt Gaetz arguments coming.
Well, they may remember, but
they might.
No, you're.
But look, I mean, get some momentum.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Right. They'll have forgotten all about the problem.
All right, Tammy Bruce, you raised this in the first place, so I got to. Yeah. But look. He won big time. He won the popular vote. He won the Electoral College vote. He deserves to, as long as they're not criminals. I mean, Democrats, if this was a Democrat, they would push, MSNBC and them. They say, oh, no problem. We're not even going to talk about that. Let's get him through. It's important because it's going to defend Trump from weaponization. It's going to defend Trump from Russia, and lawfare.
Correct.
He needs someone to cover his back.
Well, he not only won, it was a statement. It's not like he kind of was vague throughout the campaign and happened to trip into winning. He was blunt, and we knew what he was going to do. He made statements about deportation, about the nature of what was happening with the Justice Department, about all the cultural issues, all the political issues. You know exactly what the man is going to do. And Americans said, go, let's do it. And so they were voting, we were all voting, for not just the man to fix the problems we have, but as a statement about what needed to change. And all of these picks make a statement regarding for the person
and I
who
think accountability, right?
But yes, let me finish. Is that there is, because I get into a little bit of a role here, as I think we all do on occasion. Is that this is the people chosen were people in many ways targeted by the department that they're being placed in. right? That it is the ultimate statement that the people that you were trying to destroy are now in charge of this. So that was and when you are thinking about Trump and a campaign about disruption, you expect the disruption. So every single Republican, this better not be dramatic or controversial, has a responsibility to say, okay, this man was elected to do this. We know who these players are. They all have a background we understand and can trust. We might not like their style, and they might be, from out of the bounds of what we like. And that's the point.
Yeah, no, it is. So Katie and townhall.com is running this poll. Just to change the subject for a moment, but it is very cool. Voters nowadays seem to like Republicans more than Democrats.
Yes, indeed.
This is if I get this right. Echelon, they're good pollsters.
Echelon Insights,
They
yes.
must be top flight, otherwise you wouldn't have used them. Voters approve of Trump's handling of the transition, 53-40. Aha, so there you go. 58% believe the country is headed in a better direction. Trump at 49% is more favorable than Harris and Biden. And the GOP is seen more favorably than Democrats.
Yep.
Wow.
The president's starting out on a high note on all of these levels going into his second term. 80% of the country shifted to the right, and the coasts are still blue and to the left. And it just shows, again, this massive disconnect between what's happening in Washington and what's happening in the media bubbles on the Acela corridor in New York and Washington, D.C., with what the country actually believes. So when there's all this outrage over some kind of appointment, it's good to look at the rest of the country and say, how do the voters actually feel about this? And usually they're not lighting their hair on fire as much as the media.
It's a great point, and how much they like the transition, a.k.a. these nominees.
Well,
I think that's got to be part
going into
of
the
it.
election, voters said, the majority, we want upheaval of the status quo. That's how you knew Harris was going to lose.
I got to give the last 30 seconds.
Turn the page.
Liz, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Now, I don't want to debate all the vaccination stuff. He's softened on that. But here's my thought, okay? I read your article. The NIH needs change. The CDC needs change. The FDA needs change, okay? And the whole HHS needs change. I can attest to this because, unfortunately, I had lived through day after day during COVID. I went to every bloody meeting we had in the Situation Room. I mean, if Bob Kennedy does nothing else, he will shake that up. 30 seconds.
Yeah, look, when something's profoundly broken, when we're spending twice as much as other wealthy nations for health care and our outcomes are beyond terrible, something is broken. And I think he's at least asking the right questions and needs to shake that department up.
Terrific.
It has to happen.
No,
I mean, Americans are not healthy. He's
more
totally
to be
right.
revealed.
Barack Obama also wanted him in his cabinet, by the way.
With few exceptions.
I've been shrinking lately, but I don't know, whatever it is. I got to get
Shrink
out there.
America, Brady.
I'm shrinking.
Very
I want to
good.
grow, but I'm shrinking. Katie Pavlich, Liz Peek, Tammy Bruce, you're all fabulous.